Welcome to the podcast. Today I'm joined by Coach Kath Finn, one of the coaches down here at Mapdeck Cycle Works. And this podcast has been quite a long time in the making. So back in September, you're at the European Triathlon Multisport Championships, where, as you can see from the table, Kath had quite a successful run of it. Congratulations. It's taken us a little while to process, I think. There's quite a lot to go through. And the reason for the delay is this podcast, we wanted to sort of reflect on everything that you went through, from the concept of signing up right the way to finishing and then letting everything sink in, I guess. And now I think we're probably at a point where we can talk. And even if you're not a triathlete, I think you'll still find this really interesting, because there's a whole mixture of stuff in here about preparing for a race, doing things back to back, and not just preparing for fitness. There's quite a lot of mental preparation and skill preparation as well, which is why I think this is going to be so interesting. So to get started, Kath, just for people who aren't triathletes, can you explain roughly what the European Triathlon Multisport Championships is?
It's a week of 6 events run in one location. In this case, it was Bilbao in northern Spain. Which was really nice.
I bet.
And there's a big range of events, from duathlons on the road to cross events, which are off-road, to aquabike, which is just a swim and then a bike. Yeah. So there's quite a mixture of different things to go at.
When you say off-road, are we talking like gravel or mountain bike?
Mountain bike and fell run.
Okay.
Or, I would call it fell because it was pretty steep, but you could say trail in some events.
Okay, and you decided, you qualified for 5 events. So there's often a qualification process that goes on, and you had the qualification for 5, which is incredible. And actually, I noticed that you're wearing your GB age group team. So what age group were you in, if you don't mind me asking?
55 to 59.
Okay.
And that's partly why I did it. I'm 59. It was my last year in this age group. It was lots of youngsters in my age group.
And that's a competitive age group, actually. And it's quite a popular one in age group. Yeah, okay. So out of the 5, you had to choose 4 to attain this trophy here, the legend status, which means that you did 4 events. Not quite back to back. There's like a day in between, I think, isn't there?
There was a day in between.
And obviously, not just complete them entirely, and then obviously turn up
in a state to race the next one. There are time limits on all of them.
Okay.
So it's not just simply a matter of getting through them and walking. You have to be able to produce a certain level of performance.
Yeah, after all, it's a European Championship.
Exactly. So there should be.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the main challenges, having enough left to face the last race in the state to still race it.
Absolutely.
So we were very cautious to start with.
And I think what's really interesting here is there's some racing in here that's very much in your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Stuff that you've been doing for years and years and years and are very, very good at. And the stuff in here that's definitely outside your comfort zone. But I thought we'll go through like race by race, if you like, because the first one, 18th of September, it was the duathlon.
Do you want to go to one of my stupidest decisions to start with, which was which one I dropped?
Yeah.
Because I had 5.
You had 5, you had to do 4. So
I had to do 4, and Paul, you know very well that my mountain biking is not the strongest thing in my suite of race skills.
Yeah.
So I looked at the easy one, which is a kilometre swim and then a 5k run on the flat on tarmac.
I mean, that would be brutal. That would be fast.
Yeah, but I could do it well within myself to finish within the limit. Or one of the harder ones, which was far more unknown, which was actually the cross triathlon, which was a swim in the sea, a mountain bike, and then an off-road run.
Interesting. So what you're saying is you decided to step out your comfort zone.
Yes, okay. I thought it looked more fun, and if I was going that distance to Spain, I should just go and get the most bang for my buck.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I also chose it because that was the sequence that gave me a day in between. So if I'd raced the easy short one, I would have raced on the Friday and then again
we should
the next
say
day.
Easy short but very intense one.
And actually it wasn't easy at all, because they got the tides wrong and people got swept out to sea and were pulled out, and it was a complete nightmare for lots of people. So in retrospect, maybe made the right decision then. Okay. So back to the first event. This is probably, you've done all your preparation, you've flown out there. Your first one was the European Triathlon Duathlon Championships, and this is it's like a 3-hour long race. There's some distance in there, isn't there? So what was it like being on the start line of that? European Championships, I imagine, with flags and national anthem playing and lots of national
jerseys everywhere. And can you just reflect back on what it must have been like at the start? It's a mass start, isn't it? So,
yes.
Looking around, like what were those emotions like this then?
I'm tingling.
I can tell.
Oh my gosh. I'm back now going, oh my God, I'm about to race. And I always get huge rushes of adrenaline, which is why I race on power, not heart rate. Mm-hmm. So it was just really, really trying to step back and focus on what the job was. And the job was to run an aerobic run for my first run. For 6 miles, I was going to nose breathe. And that's not my greatest skill. I don't enjoy it very much. No. It's easier if I use a nasal snoring strip because that makes a difference for me.
Okay.
So the focus was really, really hard on my goal, not anybody else's goal for that race, not the fact it was a race, just the fact that I had to control it.
And was that the internal dialogue then? So on that start line, you probably recognise a few people from around and like who the arch enemies are and who the competition is, but then you internalised it, said, no, this is my strategy. Is that?
And it wasn't so much knowing my rivals because duathlon I haven't got the race speed on the run to do really well at duathlon, so I do well enough to qualify, but realistically I'm not generally going to bother the podium places, whereas middle distance I do know who my people are. So it was just like, right, I'm here, just enjoy it, do what you need to do. And it's such a luxury, such a privilege, because the dual carriageways were closed for us. There's police escorts out. There's barriers.
That doesn't happen very often.
It's a really big occasion, and it feels. I know it's all like whatever made constructed, but to pull GB onto your ass and just go out there and race for your country, even as an amateur age grouper.
And it needs
it's just brilliant.
It needs a sensible head, I think, because you knew that you had another 3 races ahead of you.
Yeah.
It'd be very, very tempted to get carried away in the adrenaline and the excitement. And
so easy.
loads and loads of cheering. It's the first day of the events as well. And I can imagine that just becoming...
Yes. It's just trying to bring it all down and just focus on the whole thing and the end goal and go...
So can you remember when that happened in the race? I'm assuming that the anxiety was there, and at what point were you feeling calm on the start line? Did it take you like a couple of 100 metres or a couple of kilometres even just to go, I got this? In
one sense I had it nailed way back because I had race plans for every race and race aims for every race and nutrition plan filed and a kit plan filed. So before I came, I had all of that set up. So I'd been looking at those aims for a while, so in my head I was really well prepared to do that. Even so, and it's becoming a really internal focus, because you can switch your focus, which can help your concentration at different times. So sometimes it helps to know who your competition is and have an external focus and be going for them. But in this race, it was very much an internal focus. And there's a really good question of what can I do right now to help? What do I need to change? What do I need to alter? Am I in the right place? So that question for me triggers.
And did that come up at all in that first race, or did it just go to plan? And
it always comes up because it's like, okay, well, I'm going up a hill. What can I do? Can I push a bit harder? Do I need to back off? Have I had a drink? And if you're not feeling great, like I was getting cramp, I don't transfer from tarmac running to bike very well. Mm-hmm. And it was a bike straight into an uphill.
Right.
So my time was like really slow. I was really conscious of the time cut-offs because that's big race mistakes I've made before, not being conscious. And this week they were crucial. So all the time, or a lot of the time, to refocus the concentration is what can I do right now? Do I need to have an easy gear? My legs are going to cramp. Get some liquid into me. What else do I need? Have I had food? Okay, we're doing all right. All right, we're going downhill. Can I be more aero? Can I do any of this? What's that corner?
So it sounds like you weren't taking this easy, because it's the first race of 4. There was no like, I've got 4 races in the bag. It sounds like you were still pretty intensely racing in this.
I was racing in order to reach the goals that I needed. So I was racing to try and preserve my body in the best shape it could be, because in order to race on number 4, it was about 200 kilometres of racing over the week. I needed to take every precaution. So I needed to fuel really well. I needed to watch my temperature. I needed to make sure I did my post-race stuff really well. And the recovery, what I learned about recovery was, enormous.
And this is actually, we'll skip ahead a little bit, but as it's come up, let's get into it, because the challenge of anything like this is the recovery process, because the performance day after day after day, or even with the 24 hours in between, is only just enough really to have high intensity performance. I mean, I know I come from like an ultra running background, but that's just consistent, and you always just get slower and slower and slower. This is, I've got 24 hours to recover, and I've got another intense racing, which is completely different, because what I did, we never went high heart rate.
Well, the aim for the first race was not to go high heart rate, but then because of the next two were off road, and because of the nature of the terrain, there was no choice. You had to go high heart rate.
So what was strategy then? So the first race, I can see your finishing time was just over 3 hours.
And I was the last person to finish. I walked most of the last run. I didn't care. I'd gone through the cut-off for the bike, and that was the important bit.
Okay.
So that was the strategy. I had a massage straight away. They were available at the end. I had pre-race, post-race food. I got comfortable, got compression tights on. Got feet up as soon as I could.
All the things. And what was the post-race food like? I mean, what was working for you?
I had a shake immediately, so protein, and we use Rego SIS.
Good mix of protein and carbs in there.
So just had that straight away, and then actually we had burger and chips because we were hungry and it was there. And Bilbao, interestingly, is a really difficult place to eat well in, because it's Spanish tapas.
Of course.
And they don't serve anything till like 9:30 at night. And as an athlete,
you need to.
That's streets away from what you need. So even accommodation-wise, we had somewhere in the suburbs, so it was on the tube. So we could take the bikes back on the tube, go home, and then eat some more. And it's all like easily digestible, carb and protein.
We've talked about this in your preparation, about that hour that you have to try and get that carbohydrate protein in there as soon as you possibly can. And I can imagine it being quite hard when you're surrounded by noise and excitement and queues of people, and
everyone's saying, "Oh, what about this?" and "Oh, come in here. How are you?" And because for us now, well, husband and I've raced quite a lot at this level, luckily, and we've had an amazing time, and we know quite a lot of people now, so it's a real good chance to catch up with people.
And of course, the other component of recovery is actually sleep.
Yes.
And somehow you've got to get yourself a really good quality 8 hours of sleep in amongst all of this as well. And was that okay, or was that?
So I kind of had 3 recovery days between my races. So I would say the first recovery day, so between the race we've just talked about and the cross duathlon, that was good. I ate really well. I was very relaxed. I slept really well. I got 20 minutes. I can't remember whether it was a bike or a swim, but I did some exercise just to clear everything and keep everything ticking over. And that was stretched, some yoga, loads of bits and pieces. Stuck my legs in the sea. Cold water. So that one worked really well.
Okay.
The middle one was a crashing disaster.
Before we get on to the next race, that like there's 2 days after, was the one that you podiumed on.
Yes.
So this is the Cross Duathlon Championship. So running bike,
and then run
bike
again.
Okay. And again, it's another almost a 4-hour event. This. So do you think? What was your anxiety like at the start of that? Was it no, I've recovered, I'm good, or was it like?
No, this one was out of the box. I've never raced at that level at cross anything, duathlon or triathlon. My mountain biking's not particularly brilliant. We'd made the decision that I wouldn't go around the course, particularly with the amount of climb in it, because it would knacker my legs too much. And people who are really, really organised and going for it had an electric mountain bike and a normal mountain bike.
Oh, clever.
They could recce on the electric. That's a bit out of my league at the minute for that.
That's a bit over the top, that.
So the good people, the people who were really going for it were doing that. So I hadn't seen the course. There'd been videos of it, but it's really hard to judge. I was really anxious. And it had gone from being... Like the first race was so cold, I had hat, windproofs, everything on in the morning before we started, 9 o'clock start.
Wow.
This one was quite at 4 o'clock. So, and it was really hot, so I had an ice vest on before we started because it was like 29 degrees. And the more your core temperature goes up, the more demanding it is, and the more carbs you need, but the harder it is to eat. And so part of my rest prep was trying that, and that was a new piece of kit for me. So I didn't race in it because the blocks weigh about 1 kilo.
Yeah.
By the time we got to the start, they were half.
Well, I guess hydration becomes quite an issue, doesn't it? 'Cause
Yeah.
4 hours is, in that heat would be, on that intensity, that would be quite tough actually. And probably, and even actually consuming that level of carbohydrates would be quite a challenge. That 4 hour sort of time is quite a...
I came unstuck.
Right.
I learnt. Yeah, I chose to use a Camelback. Mm-hmm. But one of the issues with that, because you could have got no idea of how much you've drunk. So I was way underfueled, and I had one bottle on my cage, which had beta fuel in it.
Yeah.
And I also had, that was another thing, because when you're on the road, you know I know where all my food is, I know exactly how much I need to drink, I've got my bottle sorted. This was completely like, well, where do I keep food? Where's it not going to bounce off? What does my kit look like? And you have to wear the GB suit. Mm-hmm. So the back pockets. So you're in a proper
tri-suit with this as well? Okay, so you haven't got like normal mountain bike. Oh, okay.
No, you've just got a GB tri-suit, which I found has little leg pockets.
Yeah.
Which are about big enough for a gel or a packet of sweets, as it turned out.
Yeah.
But they've also got rear pockets, like a cycle jersey, but I've got a pack on there, so I can't reach them. So I had all my food either in the bottle, which is 80 grams of carb, or in like Cliff Blocks and beta gels.
Very
blocks.
high carbohydrate intake.
Yeah.
4 hours is 4 hours on high levels of carbohydrate intake is just about on the edge, isn't it? Yeah.
And we were fueling for the next day, so you're really trying to max out your fueling because so we're not just looking at that race, we're looking at, right, well, the minimum you need for this race is this, but actually you need to be ready for 2 days' time, so you need to overfuel.
Yeah, you can't just completely drain the tank, because going back from completely drained tank to being ready again it's
really hard.
So you've got to be like 3/4 drained rather than fully. Yeah, okay.
And I managed to more or less eat everything. I can't remember how much I consumed, but it should have been on normal racing about sufficient. Mm-hmm. I was short on hydration, but I hadn't thought about how much my brain would fry.
It's tough actually. And did you manage to get a resupply halfway around? Was there like feed stations, or did you have to carry everything?
Yeah.
Okay, that is quite challenging actually.
So it was just like, okay, well, I've eaten everything, and because it was so above my skill level of the mountain biking, my brain was completely wired.
Interesting. So it was quite a technical course as well.
Some of it, there was a big bit that wasn't technical. So it was a massive long uphill drag like you'd find in Yorkshire going up onto the ridges. So that was fine. And then there was a really highly technical section, and I don't know how long it was, and we had to do 2 laps. And even people who were like real proper mountain bikers, that was their main sport, were going, God, this is really hard. Okay. So I had to get off a lot, because that's kind of what you do when you can't actually do stuff. Then second time round, I started cramping because I just didn't have enough carb electrolyte.
Yeah, I think it's something quite overlooked actually, is how technical downhill mountain biking can actually be really energy intensive.
And you're also you're balancing. It's single track. It's full of tree roots. For me,
time
full
under
of
tension.
rocks.
You're in that semi press up position, plank position, quite a long time potentially, and tired and
and your little brain's going, oh my god, what are you doing? This is really scary. Yeah. No, you've just got to go over that bridge at the bottom, so you've got to make that bend, all right. So there was a lot of talk, and then there was that question of what can I do to make it easier. Right, well, if I'm cramping every time I get off and on, I need to put the dropper post down so that my legs don't have to move as much. And so it was doing that all the way along.
I mean, you're describing this like a failure, but you finished second.
Yeah, well, for some reason there's not very many 59-year-olds who actually compete and go into it. So that's a huge advantage. And yes, there were a few, but somebody else fell off just in front of me in my age group, and I knew I was on her tail. Yeah. So then, unfortunately, she DNF'd. So there's percentage that DNF in every race, and there's obviously with mountain biking higher chance of mechanicals and things like that. So yeah, I loved it. I had such a blast. I might have been terrified, but God, it was fun.
It is the ultimate skill of endurance, is to get to the finish line.
You have to finish.
Yeah,
and everyone was going, we have team leaders out there, or team car, whatever you like to call them, and they were like, oh, how was it? Like, oh, it was amazing, it was really great. And they said, oh, really? Really? Everyone else says it was really brutal. And I was okay, well, I live in the Lake District, that probably helps.
I think it would. And even just having the wherewithal to know, I'll be quicker running down that than I will be trying to ride it, and then potentially breaking a mech or coming off or
Yeah.
jeopardising other things. It's always decisions,
Yeah.
and calculated risk the whole time, isn't it? So,
Yeah.
so in terms of like comfort zone then on that race,
Oh.
like, were you way out of it, or were you like know when you're getting close and you go, I can pull this back, I can get on?
I was way out of my comfort
really?
zone on loads of it.
Okay.
It's just like,
So do you think you were taking risks then? At any point in that race, did you think, I'm about to jeopardise my legend run of my 4 races? Or did it always feel safe?
I wouldn't say I always felt 100% safe, because there's obviously always elements when you go, ooh, but I didn't take unnecessary risks, I would say, in terms of the terrain that I felt I could ride and the terrain that I felt was a bit beyond me. And rightly so, some of it needs to be quite hard. It is, you're racing at that level.
Yeah.
But cross duathlons in Britain tend to be very tame. So there is a massive disconnect between how you qualify. I mean, I qualified by going to Weymouth and riding around a tank track, which is quite flat and relatively easy.
Yeah, probably doing it on a gravel bike. Yeah.
And to suddenly arriving at the right level of race, and it's highly technical. So yeah, I think there was always an element of risk, but I don't think I took unnecessary risks.
Just after you finished that, obviously on an absolute high, I can imagine, walking into town with your silver medal, which is amazing. At what point did you realise, I've got another 2 races to do?
This is where it all fell apart, really. Somebody said, "Oh, you're silver medal, so it's really kind of quite nice to stay and go on the podium, but that can take a while." So you're looking for food, and there isn't really that much. So I've had my shake, I had some food in the car, so I got all that sorted. And then you're also on my feet for a lot longer than I wanted, so I was trying to find places to sit down and wait. And we'd raced at 4, we'd set off, so this was now 9 at night, and it was maybe about an hour's drive from Bilbao.
Yeah.
In a beautiful forested area. I mean, the race was stunning. And then I need something. I thought I'll get coffee. My Spanish ain't great.
At 9 o'clock at night.
Descafeinado.
Okay.
So that's great. I know that. I can do that. So I thought I'd ask for descafeinado, por favor.
Yeah.
And I got 2 coffees on the thing. So I was like, oh, bonus coffee, great. A bit like race clouded. Oh, yeah, fantastic. Took them out, drank them. Thought, God, this is good coffee. And you know what I'd done?
Not decaffeinated.
And what I'd heard was Dos Cafe.
Right.
So I got 2 full strength espresso coffees at 9 o'clock at night, having raced, having not drunk caffeine for a month, so I could use it as a race fuel.
Well, that's interesting.
Wasn't good.
I'm like your poor husband.
So, well, yes, he didn't come to watch, so he was back in the apartment, so I rolled in at whatever time.
Wired.
Yes, completely wired. So he gave up and went to bed about 1. I got to bed about 2:30.
So you had, I guess, a very big focus of the next day. It's like, right, I've got a whole day to recover. Like, what the hell can I do?
I don't think I'd fully realised the impact, and I also had too much in that day. And I think it took me until the race morning, the following morning, before I actually properly came off the caffeine.
Well, really?
Yeah.
Right, interesting.
And obviously I woke up the next morning, I was like, oh, God.
Oh, no.
What have I done? I feel horrendous.
So this is the 3rd race now, and I've got down here, this is the Triathlon Cross Championship. So we've now got a swim in there as well.
Yes.
In the sea?
In the sea,
Yeah.
opposite direction to the cross duathlon.
Yeah.
So you see a different part of the country, which was great, little fishing harbour.
Oh, so it's not the same course either?
No, it's completely different territory. And the time limit was less, it was tighter.
It's a shorter length race according to your race results here. You were just 3 hours, 3.5 hours, near enough. So.
And the time cut-offs were shorter, but I think the mileage was almost the same, and I was really concerned that I wouldn't make those cut-offs if it was as technical.
So what was the difference? Was it a technical course?
It was less technical.
Okay, so you were able to manage to ride more of it.
Yeah, but I was kind of texting my coach, I'm so tired in the morning, and he went, just eat. And I ate, and obviously you need to drink water at the same time to absorb the glycogen properly. And then I slightly overdid it. I was like, what's the quickest, easiest way to get fuel into me?
Turbo.
Yeah, I feel, well, beta fuel.
Yeah, okay. That is powerful stuff, actually.
So I had
SAS beta fuel, my God, right, it literally is rocket fuel.
Yeah, so I had beta fuel, but unfortunately got my timing a bit wrong and probably peaked about 2 hours before I was due to
Okay,
race.
so you had a massive sugar come down. Okay, brilliant.
So I get to the start line and I've just dived off this. I had so much sugar in me and I could just about feel it fizzing.
So rather than being revved up, you're now into the food coma.
Yes. Absolutely, completely.
Okay.
I had a terrible swim. I can't think why, you know. It's just like, this is... And I hadn't fully processed all of that, obviously, at the time. And I wish I'd taken my ice vest for before, because, again, it was a half-one start. They processed us really slowly in the queue, so we were stood in the sun with our bikes forever. And I didn't have it with me, which was stupid.
Okay.
And swim was great. They emptied the harbour for us. So first race, they shut the dual carriageway. Second of this race,
Amazing.
they cleared all the fishing boats out of the harbour, so we had whole harbour to ourselves.
That's incredible.
Magic. And we came out, and there's the fire engine from the local village, and there's a firefighter on the top with a hose. And we run under the hose so it washes all the salt off us. It was just so cool.
This is the great thing about when I think you go to European and World Championships is that the level of infrastructure and support you get and the crowd is just on another level, isn't it? It's,
Yeah, it's really nice.
Incredible.
It's really good. The whole village is shut down. It was party time and they were all there to support. There were loads of, when we came back, like lights and dancing and stalls. And
so you done pretty well in that race. It was fifth place in there. That's pretty good.
I was really pleased with that. I was so tired.
Yeah, it's. I think that's great when I think any endurance athlete has been there and recognised all the signs and symptoms and gone, right, okay, what do I need to do? It's endurance athlete is like being your own personal doctor. I think sometimes it's just like, okay, what's hurting? What can I do to help that? What's like?
Yeah.
It's like constantly reviewing how you're feeling, isn't it? And knowing like what I need to do to feel better.
I almost separated. So I had the me that was racing, and then I had this other observer, and it took quite a while. But I was like, God, that person's really tired. And they're making really bad decisions. They're really faffy in transition. What is going on? And I'm actually pretty proud of that race because I held both my bike splits were more or less the same, a couple of minutes out or something. But and then I got off. And one of the stupidest things I did was we did have a bottle station, but so you took the bottle with your hands like you normally do. I had a drink. I knew I couldn't carry it on my bike. And then there were all these bins. I thought, I'll just lob it in a bin. What an idiot. Obviously, I missed because I'm too tired to function. Hit the bin. It bounces off right in front of my wheel in the road. And I'm like, no, don't knock yourself off on this race. You can't afford to do that.
Oh, no. And then very quickly, your last race then, this is the aqua bike.
Yeah.
So swim and bike.
Yeah.
I get that. 4 hours, that's that. Longer distance, or was that just you like all I've got to do now is just bring it home? Or
no, it's a 50-mile bike with quite a lot of climb on it, and it's a 2K swim.
Bike. Yeah.
We took a road bike out because there was quite a lot of hills, so we took a road bike with time trial bars on it. So that's why it took longer. I had recovered well after the last effort, where I had to have a little cry afterwards because I was so tired I just couldn't see straight or do anything. So I'd worked really hard, got myself to the start. I still had that feeling of like excitement and bubbling in my gut of I'm gonna race. And we got to swim underneath the Guggenheim Museum in the estuary in the middle of Bilbao for this one, which is again how often
the event organisers really went to town on this, didn't they? Just changing the courses constantly because a lot of times they rehash things.
This was all different
really showcasing the city. Wow.
Yeah, it was good. Got out the swim, had a flat tire. It's been racked. My rear wheel has not been on the floor since I left it. How has it gone flat? It's been checked.
I don't know. It
it's
happens
been
in the workshop sometimes.
I think it's right. Don't get hassled.
Yeah.
You've got one tube. Get this right. Put clothes on. Eat. Then sort it. So make sure that you're going to be okay. I've just come out of the swim. I'm freezing.
Yeah. Normally, you just feel like exercise keeps you warm, doesn't it? So.
Yeah. So look after yourself. Then deal with it. So I fixed it, and then about 5 miles down the road, I went, I think I was sabotaged there. Maybe, just possibly. And as a bike mechanic, maybe You'll tell me.
I don't know. I mean, it happened to us this morning. We sort of just finished after Christmas, and we came in. Customer came to put their bike up, had a flat tyre. How the hell has it got a flat tyre? It was fine 4 days ago.
Yeah. Well, this was fine an hour and a half ago or 2 hours ago. So, and actually, that was brilliant in one way because it wasn't a race that I had trained for a year to try and win, which is, if you go to a single race, that I would have been absolutely gutted. But it was right. I still have the times, and the timings were quite complex on this, so I had them written on my leg in permanent pen.
You've been practicing. I've seen you practicing your puncture repairs and stuff. You were getting pretty quick at them and stuff. So
so I knew I could do it, and I'd practiced that side of racing.
Do you know your transition time?
It's about 15 minutes, I think.
Okay. I mean, what's the transition time normally for swim to bike?
I think it took me about 10 minutes to sort myself out because it was a very long transition. We had to run through everybody else's bikes, and so people were taking...
And you have to put on extra clothes and then take those extra clothes off again and still manage to fix a puncture. That's pretty reasonable, I think.
So...
I think there's quite a lot of bike mechanics out there that couldn't change a puncture that quickly.
I did it, no levers, thumbs only. So it was really, that always makes me feel good if I can do that.
Yep.
So yeah. But actually, whether or not that happened, the anger that gave me that somebody potentially could have done that was brilliant.
Anger would be 10 watts.
I just used it. And every time I started feeling really tired, I was like, all right, I'm really angry.
So it's actually quite an interesting thing here. So you got your times on your leg.
Yeah.
And it's probably very tempting to try and get back on your schedule very, very quickly, as opposed to chip into it bit by bit.
Yeah.
So what was in your mind then? It was like, okay, I need to get back on schedule as quickly as possible, then rein back? Or was it like a long-term regain?
No, it was just like, let's get settled, because the first bit out of town is quite twisty and you need to watch where you're going, and there's lots of turns. And again, because a lot of it's now on closed roads, it's hard to ride the whole course beforehand or drive it because there's all kind of little bits. And then once I got on a bigger road and I was right, I know what's going to happen here. We've driven this bit of it. It was okay, now settle in, get your power on, use that and see what we can do. And also I ride with power, heart rate and cadence on my monitor. So I can kind of work out what's going on. So
you're just a little bit above where you wanted to be, but it's sort of sustainable. Was that how you were pacing it?
So I was trying to pace it like that and go, how long can I hold this up for? And the end bit actually was down, obviously, because you've just gone up, you then go down. So it was back down into the city. And I probably, the last quarter or so, my heart rate had given up trying to get up. It was just like, okay, I'm out of here. I've had enough. I can't do this anymore.
So I guess another thing with endurance stuff is we're constantly doing mathematics. I know from my ultra running days, you're constantly just doing the maths. And like, okay, I'm doing this many kilometres an hour. I've got this many kilometres to cover. I've got that many contour lines to cover. And at what point were you thinking, okay, I think I'm back on track? And like, when was the mental arithmetic going?
We've got this.
Yeah.
I think when I went through the first checkpoint, and you could look and say, right, okay, I've actually got some time in hand. I've made that checkpoint.
Okay.
And now everything's going to settle down a bit. If I've made that checkpoint, I can now make other checkpoints.
Okay, so you were a few minutes ahead of that cut-off.
Yeah.
You're on a few minutes ahead of Kath.
Yeah. So it was like, okay, we now should have this because this feels semi-sustainable, assuming I remember to eat. I'm assuming I don't have another puncture because I have no inner tube.
Yeah, that's the other problem. You start to lose your little buffer zone, don't you? Your little mental buffer zone if anything happens. It's gone. So I took the tube out of the bin when I got back. Yeah, but it was fine.
It was fine. So I was like, oh my God. So I learned so much from that.
Yeah.
Carry a spare canister in transition, take a spare tube in transition, because I potentially could have got my bag back and got the stuff again. Take a flat one with you because it might blow up again and be all right if you have another disaster. So it was, in that sense, a good learning experience.
Yeah, it's
not quite what I needed.
So and then obviously you got onto the run. That was it. You're in the home straight.
I don't need to run.
Of course, it's aqua bike. Of course,
which is amazing. The relief, not having to try and do a half marathon. It's just huge. It was like yay! And I was trying this with another athlete who I know. My first club is Kendall. My second club is Anik.
Yeah.
Because And she was there as well, so she finished before me and she was at the finish. So
Excellent.
it's just like, yes,
Had that good
we've done
emotional
it.
finish. Yes.
Yeah.
And did she do the legend as well?
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. That's that.
So we're the first 2 GB athletes to get it since it started, which was 2017.
Wow.
And there were 5 athletes that attained it at that event, and there were over 2,000 races. So it's not something that many people have gone for.
No, that is something quite special. It puts on like another level of endurance on top of something which is already a hard endurance event. So was there a special prize giving ceremony for the legend?
Yes, we had it with this. Every event had a prize giving ceremony afterwards, and ours was in with the aqua bike and middle distance. So yeah,
that's incredible.
Yeah.
So I mean, is there anything we think we haven't covered so far that you think this audience here will be like, do you know what would be really useful if anyone's considering doing it? I think I'd like to know.
There'll be probably few people in your audience doing that range of triathlon, because that's one of the issues, is to be multi-purpose. But you need to plan about 18 months in advance, because you need a year to get most of your qualifications. So you need to be thinking about it early. The 2 things that were really amazingly helpful was very detailed planning before I went. I had a file with, as I said, race plans and food plans, and that allowed me to turn my head off in the middle days, so I could actually rest and not worry about it.
That's a really good point. I think this is something that's probably overlooked, isn't it? It's all very well that we've turned up and we've done 4 races back to back, but you've got to have travelled to and competed and qualified for to get to that point in the first place. And
you have to. We took the van, luckily, because you have to have the kit and the race food. You don't want to buy it there. And so for everything from whatever it was, raining and freezing on one race to 28 degrees on another, and racing at 9 in the morning or 4 in the evening.
You've got 2 bikes to take.
I took a turbo to warm up, so I took just a normal dumb turbo out there. Those bits, so having really, really good planning before you go. And the biggest bit, I think another bit that was massively helpful was really working on my head confidence in the months going up to it. So I keep a training diary, like people obviously will do. I had a separate column for mental support, I guess, that you could say. So I'd be writing, remember you can ride up hills, remember you've just ridden these hills, remember that you've ridden that bit downhill and it was fine and it worked. And
positive affirmations, I like that. That's
loads of them. And I do have a coach. I mean, I work as a coach for endurance sports, but it's really hard to look at yourself.
It is. It's really. Coaching yourself is probably the hardest thing.
So my coach lives in Devon. He's called Joe Beer, and he obviously had quite a lot of input into what was going on.
I think one of the things is you're your own worst critic. And sometimes it's very easy to take yourself down a downward spiral when you're trying to coach yourself, as opposed to an upward spiral, which is what a good coach, by the sounds of it, has been doing.
And it's really hard to give yourself enough rest, because as an endurance athlete, you'll know you love what you do. So you always want to do more, partly because it's fun, partly because your mates are doing it, and partly because if you do more, you're obviously going to do better. No, but that's the driver.
It is, yeah.
So having somebody else going, no, you've done enough.
Yeah, I think when I look back on my career, the big driver was the education. I actually liked learning more than I actually probably liked the racing, if I really reflect on it. And we always used to make a joke in our team about the hardest thing is to try and get, because we raced in teams of 4, was to try and get 4 people with all the right skills, not ill, not injured, to the start line.
Oh, it's bad enough getting yourself to the start line.
If you could do that, then the race was actually the easy part.
Because I had a rubbish chunk in the middle of this season. I pulled my hamstring, I was anemic, I had COVID, and that took 3 months. So coming up to, luckily things just lifted in time to give me a sufficient block to do some stuff for this.
Yeah, you did well. I mean, I know that you did some mountain bike coaching and got some mountain bike coaching and as well. It's just like learning.
We looked at the specifics. What did I need and what didn't I have? So the thing that really floored me when the courses came out was how much elevation. And effectively, I went from sea level to the top of the highest Lakeland peak 4 times in a week. That was the amount of elevation in it, and I just was not ready for that when it came out, because duathlons here are flat, so it's like, what is this?
It's the elevation that always kills you, isn't it? When you go to the Alps, it's we always concentrate on the distance, but in the Alps, especially when they talk about races, that it's the elevations that's always talked about first.
So I did loads of mountain biking, I did mountain biking skills, and we did lots of hill work, and for mountain bike hill reps and stuff like that, to just look at the bits that I wasn't really good at.
Yeah.
And the whole mountain biking thing, that the difference doing a road transition to a mountain bike transition was just like huge.
Excellent. I think you've done superbly, and to bring back such a haul of medals like that. Yeah, congratulations. So
thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, everybody. And if you've got any questions, please put them down in the comments below. We'll try and answer them as best we can. But thanks for sharing that, Kath. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. That was fun.